Hi people, hi. So back a few years ago, you may know because I made videos on it, I was a K-pop girl. I don't know if this is how I should begin this video, but I'm sure it'll make sense in a minute. I love K-pop. Still do, I guess. I'm excited for EXO cream soda if they're, you know, my EXO girlies. If you know, you know. But kind of fell off that. But even when I was like really into K-pop, my point is that even when I was really into it, I never was like a Korea-boo or like super infatuated with like Korean culture. Maybe it's like that I am acutely aware that they're like very racist. I mean, when I'm looking at like, okay, hold on. When I'm looking at like being infatuated with a country, I'm looking at, can I live there? France, I can speak the language, kind of. I took the AP test, so that must mean something. Also, they riot all the time, and I think that's kind of metal. Japan, would definitely live there. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all I gotta say. I just say Japan, and you already know. These are places I would live. Every other European country, basically, would live there because it's way better than America. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the basic standards of being infatuated with other countries. You know, every country has their issues, but Korea just has never been super enticing to me. Now, don't get me wrong, their traditions and culture are super good. Food is amazing, you know, like on that basis, culturally, of course, you know, they've been around for thousands of years, they got it going on. But especially when it comes to running their government and their country, and honey, it's not their fault, okay? I'll give them that. America came in as they do and messed the entire thing up, okay? You know, that's you know, I had to give a little grace, okay? It's not completely their fault that their entire economy is like based on 4 major companies, and if those companies were to like die, then they would too. You know, that's not their fault, because the god of capitalism, the inventor of capitalism, America, came in and said, this is how you should run a country. You know, that sounds really good. Just a super hyper capitalistic, terrible way to base a country on. I don't know, to me it seems like America was like, let's experiment a little bit. How far can we go with this? How much can we do before it just all falls apart? And so I can't blame them for that. But I just been super, you know, never been Korea-boo, but I have been really infatuated over the past few months or so. Girl, I hope you can't hear my family. I have a noise gate on, so hopefully you can't. Once again, black people are so loud. Like, why are they screaming? Like, it can't be that funny. Also, there's fireworks because the freaking 4th of July is over, and yet they're still doing fireworks. Please, someone tell me, why is everyone in the world so freaking loud? Anyways, so what I have been infatuated with in terms of Korea is just like their kind of GamerGate era. Now, we could talk about, like I said, what I just said, how there's a certain term for it. Oh, it's chaebol. That's what it's called. Yeah, chaebol. We could talk about chaebols, but maybe that we can save that for another video. In this video, I want to focus on another aspect of Korean politics that is really interesting. Like, I just made a video on Gamergate, so I'm just infatuated with this idea of hating women to the umpth degree. And right now, Korea is kind of in their Gamergate era, so why don't we revisit that ideology a little bit, and talk about a little bit of Korean politics. So Korea has an incel president. You know, that's just the most simplest way to put it. Yoon Suk-yeol has made so many has basically made a stance on where he stands in terms of like gender politics. So he ran on trying to abolish the gender equality ministry. That was just basically his platform, is he's going to stand up for men and just take out this part of the government that he found to be useless or not good to have, or like an inappropriate part to have. It's actually good because it gives women protections, but we'll get into it a little bit later why he won and why it's actually popular to believe the way he believes. We're gonna watch a whole video on it, okay? It'll be good. He actually claimed that by abolishing the gender equality ministry, that would be good for women, and he won his election with the support of young anti-feminists, which is a really big group of people. It's a really big group of like millennials and younger men in Korea. In fact, 79% of young men in Korea think men are oppressed. Like I said, we're about to get into that a little bit deeper. So they have an incel president who basically tackled this subset. I don't even know if it's a subset because the numbers are kind of crazy. I'm not even gonna lie. 79%? Girl, is that a subset at that point? But he tackled that. He really appealed to that group of men who feel like they're oppressed, feel like they're alone, are incels, can't get women, do violent things to women, you know, like he appealed to that group of people and became president off of it. So if your entire leader is just, I feel like a leader, they may not do like everything in politics, you know, I feel like most of the times they don't do a whole lot, but I think it gives a big, you know, like it represents, you know, like it's a figurehead for the company. I feel like, or for the company, for the country. I feel like that's a big deal, you know? We're gonna get a little bit deeper into Korea's Gamergate era that they're in right now. So South Korea has the highest gender gap among the OECD countries, with women paid on average a third less than their male counterparts. Like I said, America came in and was like, here's some ideas for you. Let's see how bad this can be. Let's see how far we can test the limits, okay? Because if you don't know, Korea is an American client state, okay? And like I said, abolishing this gender equality ministry that Yoon Suk-yeol is so adamant on getting rid of would actually not benefit women, despite what he is saying. It would remove protections against sex crimes like spy cam stalking and push Korea further back, which, so I didn't know spy cam stalking in Korea is a pretty big like sex crime. You know, like we just said, the gender wage gap, like these things are things that should be protected, yet their president is like, no, I don't really care what happens to you. I'm sorry. I don't really care how much you get paid. I don't care if somebody's stalking you through your freaking computer. Men are oppressed. What the frick? I want us to explore this a little bit more. We're gonna watch a video from, let me pull it up. We're gonna watch a video from Vice on this issue and how feminism is dividing this country.
Thousands are here today in Seoul protesting against what they describe as a growing anti-feminism movement in South Korea. Women fear that their rights are at stake because men are claiming to be victims of reverse discrimination and state that feminism has gone too far.
In South Korea, a battle between men and women is spilling out onto the streets. Gender equality has always been elusive here, but a younger, louder generation of women is demanding that things change.
So as you can see, at this march or this protest, they are talking about what I just talked about, the gender equality ministry and how it should be protected. So I think she's gonna focus on like two guys who are incels and basically go to these marches and harass people. but I'm sure she'll also get into the politics of it all.
Focus on women's rights was triggered by the global Me Too movement, which began back in 2017. As women across the world shared their stories, women here also stepped forward.
최근 연예인들의 성폭행 문제가 끊이지 않고 있습니다.
옆자리에 앉아서 허리를 감싸 안고
증거는 될 수 없지만 저한테는 있었던 사실이에요.
The allegations implicated politicians and priests. Actors and artists were named and shamed.
정말 부끄럽고 참담합니다.
But as the allegations grew, so did resentment among some men.
이것도 페미니스트 분들이 남성의 성기에 좀 집착을 하는 부분이 있다. 저는
There they are. There they are. I've already watched this video a little bit, but they're insane, okay?
얘네들의 발화 권력이 정말 무서운 부분이라고 봐요.
정말 무소불위의 권력이죠. 그리고 저는 이제 남성성이 거세되면 거세될수록 강간이 많이 일어날 거라 생각해요.
Lee Hyun-jun is 29 and works as a manager at a pet food company. At the height of the Me Too movement, he joined a group that opposes feminism. They call it gender harmony.
사실 그 당시에는 페미니즘이 근데 그 인기에 힘입어 남성들에 대한 매도, 뭐 조롱, 모욕 굉장한 많은 일들이 벌어졌습니다. 그래서 남성들이 화가 나서 여성들을 멀리하기 시작했어요. 그 상태를 보고 있자니 가만히 있을 수가 없었습니다.
How are they being humiliated by women?
뭐 고추가 3cm니 뭐니 거기에다가 남성들은 모두 잠재적 강간 범죄자, 남성들은 하등 쓸모없는 존재.
What do you think the consequences of the Me Too movement were in South Korea?
네, 남성들이 여성을 믿지 않게 됐습니다. 그래서 미투를 당할 수 있으니까 하이힐을 신은 여자가 계단 아래로 떨어지고 있는데 거기에서 닿으면 미투 운동을 당할 수 있으니까 자리를 피해버리고.
And you mentioned
Okay, that's psychotic. Everything he's saying is just doesn't make any sense. It's also just not comparable to the things that women are facing, especially in Korea, where sex crimes are rampant and where their actual like civil liberties are being attacked. Like him being like, oh, they say I have a 1-inch penis. Like, dude, get over yourself. Get over yourself. Okay. And you know what? People get a little frustrated. They have a little bit of resentment. But to look at the Me Too movement and be like, actually, this causes men harm, instead of being like, instead of examining it for what it is. He said that men don't trust women anymore, but I feel like you should be focusing on the opposite, that women don't trust men. And maybe that's something that should be the first thing to address, you know? And then everybody can begin to trust each other, you know? Like, it's taking a situation where you're not harmed, making yourself the victim of it. It's very similar to GamerGate, okay? I already covered this in GamerGate. Very similar. It's making yourself the victim of an issue you were never the victim of. Have these absolutely false claims, not comparable issues to the actual issue.
Rape accusations. I mean, do you think that's a significant amount?
지금 많다고 생각합니다. 다른 나라에 비해서 좀 많을 수도 있다고 생각해요.
Okay, we've seen data though from the Supreme Prosecutor's Office that less than 1% of rape cases in South Korea are false.
그러니까 강간 무고가 1%가 안 된다는 말씀이시죠?
She said, I got receipts.
네, 피해자의 증언만이 오직 유일한 증거가 되는 경우가 굉장히 많거든요. 사람이 있을 수도 있겠구나라는 생각이 들고 있긴 합니다.
You know, I think it's actually the exact opposite.
Plenty of supporters. His YouTube channel has more than 61,000 followers.
Girl, I wish.
Today they showed up to live stream the International Women's Day rally.
여성주의 평화 안보 구축하라!
저는 개인적으로 되게 뭐랄까 이런 감정들만 있는 내용들이라고 할까요?
그 예시로 차별금지법을 강력하게 통과를 시켜야 된다라고 얘기를 했었는데 이게 사실은 표현 독재법이죠.
So Hyunjin is trying to find someone to speak to right now.
남자들한테 하실 말씀 많으실 것 같은데 좀 듣고 싶어요. 안 들어주실 거예요? 너무 하시네. 젠장. 자, 그러면 부스를 돌아보겠습니다. 한국 남자들한테 하고 싶은 말이요.
진짜요? 저 진짜 해도 돼요?
진짜? 진짜 하세요. 진짜 하세요.
씻고 다니셨으면 좋겠어요.
좀 씻고 다녀라. 씻고 다녀라.
그게 이제 성평등을 위해서 남자들은 씻고 다녀야 된다.
네, 씻고 다녀라. 오줌 싸지 문 닫아라. 다 시민의식을 높이자는 얘기예요. 화장실 예를 들어 화장실 갔는데 남녀 공용이야.
네네.
갔는데 문 열어놓고 안전했으면 좋겠어요.
안전해야 되고.
여자들이 어떤 고통을 겪는 줄 알아요.
공감해줘야 되고, 그죠?
성범죄주의가 좀 많이 해야 그쪽에서 누르시는 것 같은데. 저한테 막
He said, she said, I think men should shower. And he said, I think, it feels like you're trying to control men. Is that how you look at the situation? I bet he stank. Because if that's your response to what she just said, you must stank. Because how do you look at her saying, you need to close the door whenever you pee? And you're like, it feels like you're trying to control. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, close the door. I feel like that's pretty simple. Like, I feel like these are showering, pretty simple task. You know, like closing the door whenever you pee. I feel like that's pretty simple. Maybe I'm crazy. And also, he said earlier that it seems like they're being emotional. Is this not the most emotional response to having a normal conversation with somebody where you walked up to them and asked them what they think? You know, it's not computing.
저는 여기 가만히 있는데 얼굴이 여기까지만 나오시잖아요.
아니 약간 아니 프레임이 약간 쉬워졌어. 성범죄주의라는 얘기를 난 처음 들어봤어.
Girl.
So Hyunjin is speaking to some
I don't
feminists
know.
right now, and it's getting a little bit heated. They're having a disagreement.
카메라 쪽에 고압적으로 하지 마시고요. 위협적으로 하지 마세요. 위협적으로 하지 마세요. 위협적으로 하지 마세요. 폭력적으로 하지 마시고요. 쳐다보시고 와서 대화하세요. 대화하세요. 대화를 못 하시는 남성과 여성의 자유를 파괴하고 남성과 여성의 하모니를 원천 차단시키는 그런 모습을 잘 볼 수 있었던 것 같습니다.
Was that successful?
네, 맞습니다. 그렇게 뭔가 만족스럽지 못하네요. 성평등에 대해서 정말 생각한 사람이라면 오줌 싸는 거, 샤워하는 거 이런 이야기를 할 수 있을까라는 생각이 듭니다.
But hygiene isn't what women are talking about here.
So can you tell me why you're here today? What are women facing in South Korea?
실제로는 많은 기업에서 성별 임금 격차를 이유 없이 지불하고 있고 혹은 노동시장에서 성불평등도 이유 없이 고용차별이 진행되고 있어요.
What do you think is at stake for women in South Korea?
자기 존엄을 보장할 수 없다. 자기 권리를 보장할 수 없다. 계속 여성들은 끊임없이 죽어나가고 강간을 당하고 폭행을 당하고 그래서 자기의 오롯한 생존을 보장받을 수 없는 상태로 지금 서게 되겠죠.
The facts support these concerns. South Korea has the worst gender pay gap among developed democracies. On average, women earn a third less than men. And when it comes to violent crime here, almost 90% of victims are women, compared to around 50% in the US.
89%. That is insane, dude. Literally insane numbers, dude. And he's gonna look at this situation where women are coming out and saying, we don't want to be treated like this anymore. He's gonna look at a number like this and be like, no, actually men are the victims. How do you come to that conclusion? You come to that conclusion with insecurity, and I don't even know. Like, my brain doesn't work like that, you know? Like, I can't imagine. My brain, I honestly don't know how people's brains work like that. So I try to understand it, but all I can think of is insecurity. I think that's what most incels are, so that's what I'm basing off of. But I just don't know how you look at something this dire of a situation. 89% of violent crimes are committed against women. Women are paid a third less than men, which is the worst pay gap in any OECD nation. You're gonna look at all of this and be like, no, men are the victims. Like, I just don't understand.
But despite this, the country's new leader, Yoon Suk-yeol, is planning to get rid of the ministry responsible for promoting gender equality. In fact, he campaigned on it and won the presidency.
뭐 공약인데 그러면 뭐 내가 선거 때 국민들한테 거짓말하라는 얘기입니까?
이제 남자가 악이다. 남자는 사라져야 된다. 이런 militant feminists 이런 사람들이 한국 사회에 많아서.
Ha Taek-young is a lawmaker from the ruling People Power Party and supports President Yoon's views on feminism.
Do you want to get rid of the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family in South Korea?
그렇습니다. 저는 여성가족부의 대표적인 폐지론자인데, 그리고 이제 성 갈등이 심화되면서 대한민국이 세계 최악의 이제 저출산 국가가 된 것도 여성가족부 영향이 좀 크다고 생각을 합니다.
Do you agree that some of the policies your party has put forth aligns with what anti-feminists want in South Korea?
한국에서 페미니즘 반대한다고 할 때 그게 성차별을 옹호하는 게 아니라 한 젠더에게 특권을 주는 것을 반대한다는 그런 뜻입니다.
Okay, that's dumb because I feel like people don't like the definition of feminism is on Google. It is the equality of all genders. It's not one or the other. We are fighting for both to have equality. That's in the definition.
한국의 페미니스트들은 이제 남성 역차별론자로.
Isn't the reverse of discrimination no discrimination at all? Like that don't make any sense.
신종 역차별.
How do you think South Korea fits into the global discussion about gender equality?
그러니까 예를 들어 이란이나 최근에 아프가니스탄 같은 사회를 보면 여성을 학대를 하고 있고 이제 그런 사회에 심각한 여성 차별 사회에 대해서 우리가 좀 더 관심을 많이 가져야 된다고 생각을 합니다.
I think we should be concerned about South Korea.
The women aren't privileged.
I don't think so.
Something that activist Park Ji-hyun is reminded of every day.
최근에 한국의 이제 정치 상황을 봤을 때 이제 후퇴하고 있다고 느끼는 건데 정부 주요 인사들을 봐도 대부분이 남성이고 한국 사회에서 여성 국회의원이 지금 19%거든요.
As a student journalist in 2019, Park helped uncover one of South Korea's largest online sex crime rings, which launched her career in politics. But once she was in office, Park became the target of relentless digital abuse. Some of these messages are extremely disturbing. They include threats of assault and genital mutilation.
매일같이 뭐 많이 왔을 때는 이런 메시지를 보내는 분은 왜 나한테 이런 메시지를 보낼까? 내가 살아있는 사람이라고 생각했을 때 내가 나를 사람으로 생각하지 않는 건가?
Do you think mainstream politicians presenting anti-feminist remarks has made anti-feminism go mainstream within South Korea?
이 백래시가 심해지고 있는 것은 부정할 수 없는 사실인 것 같아요. 네. 울분을 풀 대상이 필요한 거예요. 근데 그 대상이 여성으로 향하는 경우가 많이 있는 것 같고.
But Park faces an uphill battle getting men in South Korea to agree with her. A 2021 poll found that nearly 80% of men in their 20s believe they face serious discrimination. 70% of men in their 30s agreed.
Do you think groups like yours that are against feminism have the potential to be spaces where women get harassed unfairly?
충분히 있다 생각합니다. 하지만 저는 개인적으로 이 그룹을 이끌면서 가져가는 어떤 좌우명 같은 게 있다면 페미니스트가 페미니즘을 선택하지 않아도 되는 세상을 만들어보자가 제 지금 좌우명입니다. 여성들이 전체적으로 피해를 보고 있구나라고 생각해서 페미니즘을 선택합니다. 하지만 저는 그러지 않아도 된다라는 걸 좀 얘기를 해주고 싶어요.
Everything you've said to me in this conversation sounds like you are an anti-feminist.
안티페미니즘과는 거리가 다릅니다. 안티페미니즘은 여성을 모욕하는 것도 서슴지 않습니다. 하지만 저희는 여성을 지켜야 된다고 이야기합니다. 저는 남자로서 제가 사랑하는 여성을 지키기 위해 살아요.
Do you consider yourself a hero?
내가 영웅이라고 생각하는구나. 저는 영웅을 만들어내는 감독 정도가 아닐까 생각합니다.
So one day in the future you might be a hero.
뭐 언젠가는요.
Girl, that's exactly why women don't want to talk to you or be around you or have a normal conversation with you. It's because you're like that. Like, the equation is simple. Just be normal. So how I always like to end my videos with like a little bit of like essence, knowledge, essence, conclusion. I don't know what we should call it, but like, how would one go about resolving the situation? First, it would take acknowledgement, first of all. And obviously, the government is not acknowledging that there's an issue. In fact, they're trying to roll it back. It needs sort of protection that women have. And obviously, a big percentage of young men don't believe it's an issue. I really do feel like the president having those same views and running on those views is probably, I don't want to say it's the issue, because obviously this has been a thing for a while, but I feel like it's only encouraging it. It's only making it worse. The fact that their leader is like, it was kind of like when Trump was in office, and then everybody was like, oh, we can be extra racist, you know, like we can just let our racist flag free. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, they do that all the time, but like, I feel like, you know, we had like an insurrection, you know, like tensions kind of rose whenever the leader was like, yeah, I don't care, you know, there are good people on both sides, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like their president being an anti-feminist is only encouraging this to continue, obviously. Like, obviously, if there was a person who was elected into office and had the exact opposite views, I feel like that would probably encourage the opposite, you know? Like, that would set a good precedent at the very least. Like, it's not going to change anything. There would have to be protections, but I think it would set a precedent at the very least that we don't tolerate this. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. There's just a lot going on here. It's a lot. It's a lot. Like, the numbers are, they're terrible. The attitudes are terrible. Obviously, this is just like one group of guys for one video, but the numbers show that this is a, like, you know, like there's a good group of, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of people that think this way. That's just alarming. In my opinion, the government is gonna have to stick up for the women, which obviously they're not gonna do, but they would have to. It seems like this gender equality ministry, the gender and family equality, you know what I'm saying? That the ministry, it seems like if anything, it doesn't need to be rolled back. It needs to be improved, because obviously it wasn't working, but its intentions and the reason for it being there is good at the very least, you know? Like, at least it's like we're trying, or, you know, we're trying to give you protections. Maybe we're not the best at doing it, but it seems like it just needs to be improved. I don't know how you fix, like, that's a big issue, girl. And I'm just one girl. I'm just one gal. You know, I do like to give a little bit of a resolution, because to just end it on like, this is the issue and they're kind of screwed, I don't know, this like, that's not the best way to end the video, you know? But honestly, girl, I'm overwhelmed, and I don't even live in Korea. Like, I can't even imagine living in Korea, having to deal with all this. is a really good example of radicalization. We talked about this in the Gamergate video essay. If you haven't seen that, go watch it. It's really good. And we were talking about radicalization and this pipeline to radicalization. And I think it's a really good example of that. How this is just, he was just a normal guy. He probably already had a propensity to believe certain things, but he was just a normal guy with a normal profession, and he got involved with this group that was radicalizing people, and now he's championing their cause. We talked about this. Like, this is literally Gamergate verbatim, except it's, I mean, yeah, it's kind of Gamergate, you know? He's now like on the streets harassing women at marches and stuff, like live streaming it, putting it online so other people can see it and then grasp onto it and believe the same thing, and it spreads the ideology. Like, it's literally the same thing, which is crazy. Having figures like this in the government sometimes gives the people in the country a call to action to be like, we've got to change this. So hopefully that's what happens for Korea in the next election. I don't know when elections take place in Korea, but hopefully that is what happens, is that the people of Korea are like, nah, we can't have this man anymore. We can't do it. And it gives them a little bit of a push to go out there and put in a more progressive candidate that's going to protect women, because we just can't have this anymore. It's just ugly. We can't do it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.